So this hand is at the Ben Poker Room. It's the Friday tournament, $80 rebuy. So there's a rebuy period for the first hour and re-entry, and then there's an add-on at the end of the hour for $40. So usually gets pretty good, anywhere from 30 to 40 players. Top prize anywhere 1,500 to 2,500. So pretty cool local Friday tournament. So in this particular hand, there's 14 players left, so we're balanced at 7 a table. There were 42 players in this tournament, and the blinds are 2K, 4K, 4K. So Under the Gun has around 120K, and he opens to 18K. So just over 4x. And the hijack, who's the chip leader in the tournament, he has around 300K. He calls. We are on the button, and we look down at Jack 10 of spades.
How many blinds do we have?
Yes, we have 211K.
Oh, so we have 50 blinds. The guy with 30 blinds opens to 4.5, and the chip leader calls. And here we are with Jack 10 of spades on the button. Okay. Interesting. So what did you do?
So I decided to call. The read on the Under the Gun player is he's a weak passive player that, in my experience, he limps a lot. And then when he opens to this really big size, and I've got it on a pretty nutted range, so I'm thinking like ace 10 suited plus and maybe sevens, eights plus kind of range. And then the chip leader is just a wild card. I mean, he's the kind of guy that he plays every hand, especially when he's got chips. He can show up with anything. He can take any line. Just really out there and tough to put any kind of any kind of set read on. The only I would say that fold at least crossed my mind because both the size of the open, and then there was a couple of shove stacks, 10 to 12 big blind stacks in the blinds. But with the whale calling as the chip leader and a nice hand to potentially crack a strong range in the Under the Gun, I decided to call.
So you're mostly playing this hand to be against the chip leader as opposed to the Under the Gun guy, yeah. That
was part of the thought process for sure.
And do you think the Under the Gun guy is, because you called him passive at one point, so do you think he's like liable if he has ace jack, let's say, or ace queen here, and he misses, he's going to check and not c bet on a lot of boards when he misses?
Or he might be one stab and done kind of player too. But yeah, he's not the one that I have a read to go multi-barrel for sure.
Okay, got it. So you're going to feel like even if you flop a pair, you don't have to lose a huge pot to that guy, right? You might lose one c bet, but that would be it. Okay. Yep. I think I got to tell you, my first instinct was to fold this hand. I get a lot of crap from people when I talk about folding Jack 10 suited. Let me tell you, unbelievable amounts of crap from people. With the guy only starting with 30 blinds, you're saying you think he's got a nutted range or really a tighter range, and him going so big. The reasons, your reasons though aren't crazy to me, and I can understand thinking like, all right, it doesn't affect you that much. 50 blinds and 45 blinds, which is really what we're talking about for you. If you miss everything, it doesn't really change your life in any way, right? So, and you are on the button, which is like a little extra bonus. And if you think the chip leader is liable to lose his mind a little bit, there might be some nice opportunities there. I think it's very reasonable to fold, but I certainly don't hate a call personally.
Yeah, I think that's right on. And I'll put it this way. If the chip leader doesn't call, I'm almost for sure folding, to your point. Yeah.
Clubs Poker is doing this cool thing called Clubs Madness from March 23rd through 31st. It's like March Madness. There's 64 tournaments with 200K in total guarantees. And if you win one of the 64 tournaments, you get entered into the Tournament of Champions, which is a 5K free roll. Check out Clubs, use the link in the description, and use the code POKERGUYS to sign up today.
Yeah, it's just too big and open, I would think, yeah.
Right.
So what happened?
All right, so we're going to the flop with the pot of 64K, and the flop is ace of spades, 9 of hearts, 9 of spades.
And we have Jack 10 of spades, right?
That's right. So we flop a flush draw on a paired board. So under the gun bets 26K into the pot of 64, and the hijack calls. What are you doing here?
I can't imagine doing anything but calling here. It doesn't seem like we could ever fold. Raising seems crazy against the under the gun sort of very tighter range where even if he had like a hand like jacks, he might not bet jacks on the ace high board with two guys behind him. You know, he might find checks with the over pairs, but the under pairs to the ace, but the big pairs anyway. So a raise doesn't feel like it's going to get through nearly enough of the time. Even if we can get it through the other guy, sometimes, although honestly, ace 9, 2 spades, I don't really know what our opponent is even. The chip leader's calling with that I really love here, unless he has like 2 7s and is hoping he can take it away later. I think a call is all we can do here. And I'm even a little worried just that we sometimes are up against other bigger flush draws, but there aren't that many bigger flush draws. It'd be absurd to fold right now. We have to call. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I agreed. I put raising out of the question immediately because of the reasons you just mentioned. I mean, we would be raising into a hyper strong range and an overcall like that just seems suicidal. So agree with that. Folding at least did again cross my mind because it is a paired board. I mean, under the gun could honestly have aces full right now. Along with the bigger flush draws that you mentioned. So it did cross my mind, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is the kind of hand that I wanted to take a flop with and potentially hit a flush and double up. So calling seems super standard. So this is where it gets interesting, the turn in the river decision. So the pot after those 2 calls is 142K.
Okay, here we go.
Yep. And the turn is the 5 of clubs.
Yeah.
So under the gun, he takes more than a minute in a tank to contemplate, and then he says something extremely bizarre. He says something like, and I don't remember if this is his exact word, but it was basically said audibly, well, this is a pickle, and then checks.
Huh, that's weird.
It's so weird.
That's so weird. My God.
And then hijack checks and actions on us.
Oh my God. Well, this is a pickle. Okay. Tell me anything else we know about this guy in terms of like, do you feel like he's an actor at all? Like, do you see him like ever do anything like that, or is he more just straightforward? As best as you know, obviously.
I took that as 100% honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would this is a pickle mean? This is a pickle could mean a few things. Like, I have an ace, but it's not like, but I don't feel great about it. It sounds like someone who doesn't feel great about his hand most of the time. Right. I guess you could have ace and say that, but now you're just being an actor, and we don't think that. Okay.
I took that out of his range almost immediately after he said that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I guess it could be an actual pickle. Like, how do I bet when I have? But he would just keep betting. Could he have a hand like queens? He bet and got called in 2 places, and now he just feels like he's in a pickle, and it's not great, and he doesn't really want to call anymore. It doesn't sound like he loves his hand. We can take a free card, which is very attractive here. Very attractive not to bloat this pot anymore. I do think some of the times we could bet relatively small and win this pot. Like, if under the gun doesn't have a big ace right now, he might just fold, period. Even if he has ace 10, he might just fold. He may not even love having ace king. He may have ace king and say this is a pickle. Very sincerely though, right? Because either of you can have a 9. You both called in his mind. And you overcalling is kind of scary. Like, all 3 of you have aces? Like, really? Maybe. I'm a little concerned that's what he has, that he would allow himself to say it. Like, if he had queens, would he really say, well, this is a pickle and check? I don't know, man. I'm inclined to want to take the free card. Some part of this, the thief in me is like, let's just bet 22% of the pot and see if we can sometimes just take it down right now. I think we take it down right now a lot. But in fact, is that really true? Like, 1, under the gun might just have a hand like ace king and feel this way. And 2, our calling player in between us and the under the gun player should have an ace or spades a lot. And if we bet small, he's probably going to feel obligated to call either way. So I think after saying all that, I guess I just want to take the free card and not get myself in more trouble. I've already put in, if I'm you've already put in, if I call here, like 22% of my stack, I still have like 39 blinds or something like that. I don't have to put in 9 more and actually change my tournament situation pretty dramatically. Like 39-30 it really starts to change what you can do and what you can't do in terms of post-flop maneuverability. I think I'm just taking a check here. What did you do?
I ended up doing the same. I agreed. I think taking the free card, seeing how the river played out in position, was going to be the most advantageous. And honestly, all your points about the under the gun guy are all what ran through my head. But then I considered the chip leader, and I thought if I bet, because betting small definitely crossed my mind, but I thought he was going to call with basically range after he called flop two. Like, even if he did float with 7s or 8s, like you mentioned, I think he's calling that turn bet. And then, I'm kind of up against a player that I think is just going to call down too much. And I don't want to just triple off my tournament in the spot. Right. So that was part of the hinging factor too, is let's see if we can actually hit this puppy on the river and win this pot.
Cool.
So that's what we decided to do. So pot's still 142K.
Here we go.
And the river is the jack of clubs.
Right on. Okay.
So not what we were hoping to hit, but obviously improves our hand. Under the gun takes another 30 seconds or so. Doesn't say anything this time, but then checks.
Okay.
And hijack checks again, and we are to act.
What was the turn card?
The jack of clubs.
No, the turn. The turn.
Oh, the turn. Sorry, the turn was the 5 of clubs. So we've got ace of spades.
Ace 9, 5, jack, and no backdoor came in.
Correct.
Okay, and they both check to you again.
That's right.
So there's a world where if we could get the under the gun player's better hand to fold, and you're saying you think some of the time at least the middle position player, the crazy dude, might call you with a worse hand. Like there's a middle there. I don't know how often that actually comes in, but it's not impossible. All right, I think we shouldn't think of it that way. We shouldn't try and do the super mergy fancy bet where we get the right guy to fold and the right guy to call, even though that would be amazing. David Benjamin pulled that off once, I think. But or Daniel Negreanu did actually against David Benjamin and Doa Brunson. But I think we should consider betting here, even though we hit our jack, to fold out under the gun specifically. Will he fold? That's thought one. Question two, will he actually fold ace queen if we bet here, right?
Yeah, great question. It's almost impossible to know. I don't have that much experience with the guy to know if he's capable of making a hero fold on the river. It's possible. I think that it's a reasonable target. I do think that if he has kings or queens at this point, he is folding to a river bet.
I agree. So we would get those to fold. There's a chance we make the bet, get those hands to fold, but then the middle position player just has like ace 3 suited and just calls and beats us anyway, which sucks. But he had 2 chances to bet on. I mean, ace 3 suited is kind of a perfect check, turn and river spot rather than bet. I mean, it really makes more sense to do that. And it's an easy call, I think, if you were to bet and the other guy folds. Man, this is a tough one. The pot is really big. Like, it's valuable. There's 14 players left. No one seems to really want this pot. I think we should pull the trigger and go for this. I think we should bet. I want to go for it. I don't know if it's going to work. We may cost ourselves a lot, but I want to bet, and I want to bet pretty big and scare everyone off. I think it's worth going for.
One more question before I tell you what it did that I meant to ask on the turn. Did we lose the possibility of repping a 9 when we checked the turn?
Yeah, I think we mostly did.
Yeah,
I think we did.
What are we representing when we bet?
We're repping ace jack. Yeah. I think it's got to be ace jack. I don't know what else it could be. Or just an ace that feels good enough, maybe ace queen, and feels like I have the best hand. I'm betting. Like, how could I be behind? I've got ace queen. I think it's ace queen, ace jack almost exclusively. I guess once in a while you could have a 9 and you're slow playing it, because it looks like everyone's just going to fold if we bet the turn, right? So you could have a 9, but I don't know if they're really going to buy that because we probably bet something a lot on the 2-spade board.
I think in reality, I'm betting a 9 almost 100% on the turn there with the 2 spades and everything. Yeah. So that ran through my head too.
Yeah. I just think the pot's really big, and I think we lose too often if we check. And I think they don't seem strong enough that they're going to call enough of the time. I think I pull the trigger and go big, even though I've been talking about trying not to blow up your stack this whole hand. I'm ready to blow up the stack now because they seem to be like, we don't know if we want it, but I'm afraid a jack just isn't good enough. We block jack, we block ace jack. I don't know, man. It sounds like it's time to take a shot and get queens to fold.
So how big is big? What's your sizing?
How much is in the pot?
The pot's 142, and we've got 171.
Geez. I mean, I guess I want to bet like 120,000, 130,000, maybe 140. Something like that. Like, let's clean it all up right now. And is the chip leader going to call me with ace 3? It's not as easy to call if I go like around pot. If you go around pot, I think I'm going to go really big and make it hard. I think I could, even if I were you, consider going all in, but it may look a little desperate, like I missed my spades. Mm-hmm. So that's why I don't know if I want to do that as much as I think 120 probably gets it done the same amount as 170 or almost the same. And we get to keep 50,000, which means we're still in the tournament. We have 12 and a half blinds. We can actually still win the tournament with 12 and a half blinds. I think I go 120. Mm-hmm. What did you do and what happened? My gosh.
So I went somewhere in between. And my thought process was similar to yours, but instead of going big, I thought that I could go smaller and targeting kings or queens from the end of the gun. And then I loved your merge play because it definitely did cross my mind that if I could, well, even if I fold out the 8s or the 7s, if I get called, it looks absolutely incredible. But even if I fold out the 8s or 7s, it's fine, right? So I decided to bet 47K.
Wow.
So it doesn't blow up my stack, and I get at least a chance to fold out kings, queens, and then either get called by worse or fold out. And this is where it was so interesting because I didn't know if I should go the 120 or the all in or the 47, and I still, and I think where I landed on is I do feel like I have a pretty big edge on these fields, and so I wanted to take a shot that still allowed me some playability, right?
Okay.
So I realized that sizing was almost instantly a mistake when the under the gun guy starts counting out his chips and he counts out the 47 call and he sees what he has back. And I'm immediately like, damn it, I bet too small. I should have at least calculated what he had left and bet enough to at least put him all in, because he seems like the kind of player that he's more comfortable calling if he's still in the tournament, right? So if I could have at least bet, I think he had like 20 back. So if I bet 67, call it. Right. I think there's a much better chance to get him to fold because he's calling for his tournament life. Whether that actually would have happened or not, I don't know, because he ends up tanking and calling, and then hijack snap calls over calls. So I'm like, well, that didn't work out. Under the gun shows ace king of hearts.
Wow. And the other guy?
Hijack ace jack off.
Well, it was never going to work.
Nope.
So that's something. And taking the free card in the turn was a good idea. And going small ends up saving you. I mean, I would have lost 72,000 more chips or whatever, 73,000 more chips. Even if we somehow got it through the first guy, you're clearly never getting it through the second guy in a million years. Wow. He checked again on the river with ace jack. That is really wild.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
he can strange.
He takes any line. He's the ultimate field player. Whatever he feels like in the moment, he's going to do, and it can be very difficult to play against. But this hand was interesting for me because I think it kind of showed myself the growth that I've had in poker, because there was so many times in the past where I get that delusional showdown value on the end with the jack, and I just snap check back, just praying, that you're going to be good when you're never good, right? And so to even take a shot there, because if that bet were to work, I'm the tournament chip leader, and if and it didn't work, and I still have a workable stack. So it was it didn't feel good to get almost insta called in two places after putting out a little bet, but I still like the thought process, and I appreciate you talking to me with it.
That's an interesting one for sure. Those are good, tough decisions.
Tired of being tired of being sick. In my head 24/7, how I'm supposed to pay the rent. Mr. Practice, I don't play. Friday nights we on the bench, trying to come up with a play. If it don't work, then hit a lick. Swift knocking at my door, pain ain't tell. I'm studying her word, pray her baby excel. Got away with way too much, should've got expelled, but the school saw my potential, smart kid trying to rebel.